They told you to visualize. They told you to wish. They told you to speak it into the universe and wait for the sky to open up and rain miracles. But they never told you the truth. They never told you that manifestation is war, a war between the life you dream of and the beliefs you've been programmed to live by, a war between the vision in your heart and the voice in your head telling you it's impossible, a war that isn't won by wishing, but by rewiring, by aligning, by transforming yourself into the kind of person your dream demands. This is not about fairy dust and fantasy. This is about power. The power to bend reality through the sheer force of belief, clarity, and aligned action. The power to rise above the noise, the distractions, the doubt, and say, I decide what I become. So let me be clear. Manifestation is not magic. It is mechanics. It is the deliberate engineering of your future, using the raw material of your thoughts, your energy, your discipline, and your decisions. If your mind is undisciplined, if your belief is scattered, if your actions are inconsistent, the universe has nothing to respond to. Because manifestation doesn't respond to hope. It responds to conviction. It responds to the person who has burned the ships, destroyed the backup plan, and bet everything on becoming what they were born to be. The problem is, most people are not manifesting. They are wishing while worrying. They are praying while doubting. They are affirming abundance while expecting failure. And you can't fool the universe. You can't lie to the mirror and expect it to reflect something real. You can only receive what you are in harmony with. And harmony is not a word, it's a state, a frequency, a way of existing. So the real question is not, how do I attract success? The real question is, am I living as the version of myself who deserves it? Every result you see in your life right now is not the universe punishing you. It is a mirror showing you the vibration you're emitting. And here's the part they never told you. Your vibration is not your words. It is your habits, your choices, your identity. You say you want wealth, but your daily rituals are rooted in survival, not creation. You say you want love, but your self-talk is laced with shame. You say you want purpose, but you keep showing up for a life you've already outgrown, just to keep the peace. Understand this. Manifestation begins the moment you stop performing for approval and start living in alignment. You are not here to chase what's already yours. You are here to become the version of you that makes it inevitable. And that begins with belief. But belief is not passive. Belief is not a quiet hope tucked inside a vision board. Belief is thunder in your bones. It is the internal yes that refuses to surrender to circumstance. When Edison was asked how he endured over 10,000 failed attempts at inventing the light bulb, he said, I didn't fail 10,000 times. I found 10,000 ways that didn't work. That's not just persistence. That's belief. A belief so deep that the outer world couldn't shake it. That is manifestation. A man deciding that reality would conform to his mind, not the other way around. Carnegie saw steel empires before the blueprint existed. Walt Disney saw castles before the land was purchased. Ford saw automobiles for the masses before there was trust or infrastructure or even roads. They were not manifesting just with vision, but with identity. They became the vessel before the victory. They spoke it, yes, but more importantly, they embodied it. Because manifestation is not about forcing the world to change. It's about becoming the version of you who no longer needs to force anything at all. When you walk into the room as your future self, the world responds differently. Doors open, people shift, resistance fades. Not because the universe suddenly favored you, but because you finally aligned with it. You finally stopped asking for permission. You stopped begging for signs. You stopped waiting for perfect conditions and became the cause, not the effect. And that's what they didn't tell you. They told you to believe, but they never showed you how to believe when everything in your past screams that you're not enough. They told you to think positive, but they never told you how to reprogram decades of inherited scarcity. They told you to stay high vibe, but they didn't tell you how to climb when your soul is crawling through rock bottom. So let me tell you, you don't raise your vibration by pretending to be happy. You raise your vibration by acting with integrity, by aligning your decisions with your destiny, not your doubt, by saying no to the things that drain you, by saying yes to the things that stretch you, by showing up in a way that tells the universe, I am ready now. not someday. Not after I fix myself. Not after I'm healed or perfect or certain. Now. Because manifestation begins when the delay ends. Right now, in this moment, you have a choice. To continue living as the version of you who dreams, or to become the version of you who executes. To keep wishing for change, or to walk like it's already done. This is not about faking it. This is about faith. Faith is not waiting. Faith is walking before the path is clear. It is moving before the money shows up. It is speaking like you already have the result, not to trick the world, but to transform yourself. Because when your identity shifts, everything else follows. You want a different outcome? Start showing up differently. Speak differently, think differently, move differently. Not out of desperation, but out of certainty. Because the version of you who already has it, they're not doubting, they're not hesitating, they're not asking how long will it take, they're becoming. Right now, right here, and so must you. They never told you that manifestation is less about receiving and more about shedding. Shedding the stories, the expectations, the fear. They never told you that before you attract the life you want, you'll be asked to let go of the one that's keeping you safe. And safe doesn't mean successful. Safe means stuck. You cannot manifest from a comfort zone padded with lies you've told yourself to avoid growth. You want change? You want breakthrough? Then understand this. Manifestation demands mourning, the death of who you were. The death of what you thought was possible. The death of a version of you that settled, hid, and played small to avoid rejection. This is not cruelty. This is initiation. No one tells you that before you rise you'll be pulled apart, tested, stripped down until there's nothing left but raw truth and real power. Because manifestation is not about receiving more. It's about becoming more honest, more focused, more courageous, more intentional with every word you speak, every step you take, every standard you raise. You must stop auditioning for a life you were born to create. No more chasing people who don't see you. No more negotiating with fear. No more dressing your doubt in the language of logic and calling it being realistic. Realism never built empires. Vision did. And vision is dangerous because it threatens the part of you that's still afraid to believe. You want to manifest? Then let me tell you something most people will never say out loud. Manifestation will first break you open. Not to punish you, but to prepare you. It will ask you to become emotionally fluent in rejection. It will ask you to keep moving when results are invisible. It will ask you to stay rooted in belief while everything around you trembles with uncertainty. And most people won't. They'll crack under the pressure of the unknown. They'll retreat to mediocrity and call it wisdom. They'll say things like, maybe this just isn't meant for me, when the truth is they simply stopped showing up as if it already was. You see, manifestation is not transactional. It's transformational. It's not I want, so I'll get. It's I become, so it must arrive. The universe responds not to begging, not to bargains, but to bold alignment. And bold alignment means you move before there is evidence. It means you trust that every step taken in faith is laying bricks for the path that will catch you. You want proof? Look at Oprah. She didn't wait until she was famous to speak with authority. She carried herself like she had a global platform long before anyone knew her name. Look at Muhammad Ali. He said, I am the greatest, before he ever became a champion. That's not arrogance. That's embodiment. Manifestation requires embodiment before arrival. Because reality doesn't create identity. Identity creates reality. That's the secret they never told you. The internal must precede the external. The frequency must come before the fortune. The decision must come before the deliverance. So ask yourself right now, have I decided? Truly decided? Not just hoped, not just written it down in a notebook one time, not just posted about it on social media, but decided with the full force of your being that your vision is non-negotiable. Because once you decide, the universe moves. Not always fast, not always on your timeline, but always in rhythm with the depth of your conviction. This is not just mental, this is biological. When you visualize something clearly and emotionally, your brain cannot distinguish it from reality. Neural pathways begin to form, hormones begin to shift. Your body starts preparing for a future it believes is already happening. But here's the catch. You must fuel that vision with action. Inspired, relentless, aligned action. You can meditate all day. You can chant affirmations in the mirror until your voice cracks. But if your actions contradict your affirmations, your results will reflect your actions, not your words. Do not be the person who says, "I want to be successful," and then spends 3 hours scrolling through distractions. Do not be the person who says, "I'm ready to receive," and then avoids every opportunity that demands growth. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you tolerate. And the moment you raise your standards, the moment you stop tolerating mediocrity in your thinking, in your habits, in your circle, your reality begins to reorganize. That's when people start disappearing from your life. That's when jobs feel too small. That's when routines that once brought comfort now feel suffocating, and you'll be tempted to go back, because growth is lonely before it's liberating. But do not go back. You didn't come this far just to prove you could almost change. You are not here for almost. You are here for always. You are here to become the kind of person who no longer needs to chase success because you are success. You are the source. You are the signal. You are the spark that sets your future ablaze. But only if you stop dimming your light to fit into the world you're meant to outgrow. Manifestation doesn't ask you to be perfect. It asks you to be real. Real about what you want. Real about what's in your way. Real about what it's going to take to become the version of you who makes it inevitable. And once you're that real, there is no more waiting. There is no more hoping. There is only alignment. And alignment changes everything. You see, when you're aligned, you no longer chase. You attract. Not because you're sitting still, not because you're entitled, but because you are magnetic. You are congruent. Your vision, your actions, your thoughts, your energy, they all speak the same language. There's no contradiction. No hidden resistance pulling you backward while you pretend to move forward. No more saying, "I want more," while living like less. That's the real reason most people never manifest what they claim to desire, because they don't have energetic integrity. Their words say success, but their habits scream fear. Their goals say growth, but their circle reflects comfort. Their vision board is filled with dreams, but their calendar is filled with avoidance. Manifestation doesn't respond to your goals, it responds to your identity. An identity is not built in bursts, it's built in consistency. It's the small things, the moments when nobody's watching, the choices you make when it's easier not to, the way you speak to yourself after a setback, the way you carry yourself even when results are invisible. Because let me remind you, this is not about fantasy. This is about architecture. Every day, every belief, every action. A brick, a structure being formed not outside of you but inside. And one day the world just catches up. They say you blew up overnight. But you know, it wasn't sudden. It was deliberate. It was built in silence, constructed in the shadows, forged in the fire of days when it would have been easier to quit. You didn't just attract success. You became someone success had no choice but to follow. So if you're still asking, why hasn't it happened yet? Ask instead, am I living as the person it already happened to? Do your decisions match your desires? Does your discipline match your dreams? Because the gap between what you want and what you have is always bridged by who you're willing to become, and no one else can walk that bridge for you. Not your mentor, not your partner, not your circumstances, not luck. You. You are the cause. You are the key. You are the seed in the soil. But don't be mistaken, this path is not gentle. It demands everything, and that's why so many never cross it, because it's easier to stay in familiar pain than walk into unknown power. But listen to me now. Power is not given. It is claimed. It is claimed in the moment you stop playing small. In the moment you stop asking for validation. In the moment you say, enough, I will not betray my vision another day to protect my comfort. There will be resistance. You will be tested. You will be tempted to shrink when people around you start feeling insecure. You will be told to be realistic by those who never dared to dream. You will be laughed at, misunderstood, maybe even abandoned. That's not a sign you're failing. That's a sign you're evolving. Because every level of elevation comes with friction. Every quantum leap tears you from the frequency of the old and demands alignment with the new. And here's the truth no one likes to admit. Manifestation is not just about calling things in. It's about letting things go. The friendships that no longer support your growth. The habits that drain your power. The thoughts that chain you to your past. This is not loss. This is pruning. This is the universe making room for what you asked for. You can't hold on to the old and receive the new at the same time. That's not alignment. That's sabotage. So stop trying to manifest miracles while hoarding mediocrity. You say you want to rise, then release everything that's holding you down. Let go of the timeline. Let go of the outcome. Let go of needing proof before you move. Because manifestation doesn't work like a vending machine. It's not input wish, receive dream. It's a dialogue between you and life. It's a contract between you and the future. It's a test of your readiness. Are you the version of yourself who can hold what you're asking for? Not just get it, hold it, sustain it, nurture it, expand it. So many people manifest what they thought they wanted, only to lose it, because they hadn't become the person who could carry it. You don't just attract what's possible, you attract what you're prepared to receive. So prepare. Build the vessel, not in desperation, but in faith. You don't clean the house for guests that aren't coming. You clean because you know they're on their way. That's what real belief looks like. Action before evidence, obedience before reward, faith before fact. That's not delusion, that's vision. And your life will always rise or fall to the level of your vision. So if you want to manifest more, see more, expect more, become more. Because at the end of the day, the truth about manifestation is this: it's not a technique, it's a transformation. It doesn't happen to you, it happens through you. And it begins the moment you stop chasing signs and start becoming the signal. You are the signal. You always have been. But somewhere along the way, you were taught to turn it down, to shrink, to wait, to dilute your power so others wouldn't feel threatened, to silence your knowing in exchange for approval. And so the signal got weaker. Not because it left you, but because you stopped believing it was real. But now, you remember. And when you remember who you are, manifestation isn't something you do. It's something that happens. Not by accident, not by luck, but by design. A design you construct with every choice you make. Because the future doesn't respond to force, it responds to frequency. It answers the call of the person who acts like they already know the ending and chooses to live like it's already done. That's the truth. The moment you align your thoughts, your habits, your energy, your focus, life begins to mirror that alignment back to you, and not always gently. Sometimes manifestation arrives as disruption. Sometimes it shows up as a door slamming shut. Sometimes the job falls apart, the relationship ends, the path disappears, and we panic. We call it failure. But what if it's not failure? What if it's alignment accelerating? What if the universe isn't punishing you, it's clearing the path for what you've already asked for? You said you wanted abundance, so scarcity had to be removed. You said you wanted purpose, so false comfort had to die. You said you wanted love, so everything built on fear had to break. And this is where most people stop, because this part hurts. This part looks like loss, but it's not. It's an answer in disguise, a shift in motion, a detour that leads directly to your destiny, but only if you keep going. You must keep going. Even when your legs shake, even when your voice trembles, even when nothing around you looks like the future you see in your heart. You walk anyway, you move anyway, because manifestation is not for the comfortable. It is for the courageous. And the courageous understand this one sacred law. The universe responds to momentum. Not perfection, not confidence, momentum. Even the smallest step in alignment generates energy. It creates ripple effects. It tells the world, I'm serious. I'm not just dreaming. I'm building. I'm not just wishing. I'm willing. And it's that willingness, that soul-deep commitment, that activates everything. You don't have to know the whole path. You just have to take the next step. You don't have to be fearless. You just have to decide that your vision is worth more than your fear. That is what separates the dreamers from the creators. That is what separates the hopeful from the fulfilled. Because there will be days where everything in you wants to quit, where your bank account says stop, where your friends don't understand, where your own reflection doubts you. But on those days, you must remember, you didn't come this far just to come this far. You didn't awaken this desire by accident. You didn't hear the call just to ignore it. You are not crazy. You are not too late. You are not dreaming too big. You are remembering. Remembering the truth that was buried under years of playing it safe. Remembering that manifestation isn't magic, it's mastery. And mastery doesn't mean control. It means surrender to discipline, surrender to patience, surrender to the truth that it might take longer than you want, but it will arrive right on time. So don't rush the process. Nature doesn't rush. The oak tree doesn't curse the seasons. The river doesn't force the bend. Everything unfolds in rhythm. Everything blooms when it's ready. But readiness isn't just about waiting, it's about preparing. You say you want the dream, but are you preparing for it? Are you managing your time like someone who values their calling? Are you sharpening your skills like someone who knows they'll be needed? Are you organizing your mind, your space, your energy like someone who's about to receive? Because the dream you want is already formed, it's just waiting for the version of you that can hold it. And you become that version one decision at a time. Decide today, not to wait, not to hope, not to bargain. Decide to become. Become the energy you want to attract. Become the standard you want to experience. Become the person who makes miracles normal, not because they're lucky, but because they're aligned. Let go of the noise, the timelines, the opinions, the what-ifs. The truth about manifestation is not hidden in some ancient text. It's in your daily choices, your mindset, your frequency. It's not out there, it's in here. And the moment you stop looking for it and start living it, that's when everything changes. That's when the delays dissolve. That's when the doors open. That's when the people appear. The opportunities unfold, the reality shifts. Not by force, not by desperation, but by divine alignment. You are the creator, you are the current, you are the command. Say it to yourself, I am no longer waiting, I am no longer doubting, I am becoming, I am aligned, I am ready. And the moment you say that, not with your lips but with your life, the universe echoes back, yes, you are. Ready not because the path is easy, but because you are willing to walk it anyway. Ready not because doubt is gone, but because faith has become louder. Ready not because you know all the answers, but because you finally learned to trust the questions. You see, manifestation doesn't begin with having. It begins with becoming. And becoming is not a destination. It is a daily devotion. A devotion to the version of you who no longer needs permission to rise. A devotion to the discipline of showing up for your goals, your values, your vision, even when no one else is clapping. Because here's the unspoken truth. The universe doesn't respond to what you say you want. It responds to what you repeatedly prove you're ready to receive. You want to manifest wealth? Then organize your finances like someone who respects abundance. Track every dollar. Celebrate every gain. Let go of what leaks your energy and your time. You want to manifest love? Then love yourself in the dark. Set standards so clear that anything less bounces off your boundaries. Become the partner you're waiting for. You want to manifest freedom? Then take radical responsibility. Stop outsourcing your power. Stop blaming conditions. Stop negotiating with excuses. This is your life. No one is coming to rescue you from the choices you won't change. No one is coming to create your dream. That's your assignment. No one can do your becoming for you. And when you realize that, when you stop waiting for the world to shift and instead decide to shift yourself, that's when the world begins to respond. Because your outer world is nothing but a mirror. And mirrors don't lie. They reflect, they echo, they amplify. If there is chaos outside, it means there is conflict inside. If there is delay outside, it means there is doubt inside. If there is limitation outside, it means there is a belief inside keeping you small. And here's the good news. You can change the signal at any moment. Your past does not write your prophecy. Your history does not define your horizon. You are not behind, you are being prepared. But preparation without action is procrastination in disguise. So start. Start where you are. Start with what you have. Start before you feel ready. Because readiness is not a feeling, it's a choice. A choice to believe in something greater than what you can see. A choice to keep going, even when the evidence isn't there. A choice to trust that every step, every effort, every inch forward matters. And it does. Because energy compounds. Belief compounds. Discipline compounds. You won't always feel the shift, but you'll wake up one day and realize the shift has already happened. You'll look back and say, I'm not who I was. And you'll barely recognize the limits that once held you hostage. This is manifestation. Not a spell, not a shortcut, not a lottery ticket you hope lands in your lap. It's the silent, steady revolution of your own becoming. The kind that happens when you stop asking, will this work? And start asking, how will I evolve through this? That's the real question. Because if your dream only matters when it's easy, you were never committed. You were just curious. But if your dream still matters when it's hard, when it hurts, when it's quiet and lonely and slow, that's when the universe leans in and whispers, this one is serious. Let's open the gates, and suddenly things move. The right people appear, the right ideas land, the right opportunities unfold. Not because you begged, not because you performed, but because you became. You became someone who no longer needs the world to believe, because you already do, and belief is contagious. You walk different when you're certain. You speak different when you're aligned. You act different when you know the outcome is inevitable, because you've made it so. That's the energy of inevitability, and when you live in that energy, you stop trying to convince. You start to command. Not others, yourself. You command your attention, you command your habits, you command your time, your energy, your thoughts, because you understand that every single one is a brushstroke on the canvas of your reality. You are the artist, you are the architect, you are the cause, not the effect. So the next time you say, I want to manifest, don't stop at the want. Become. Become the one who attracts it because they embody it. Become the one who creates it because they no longer wait. Become the one who understands that this power, this wild, beautiful, terrifying power, was never meant to be handed to you. It was already in you, waiting, watching, ready. All it needed was your permission. So give yourself permission. Right now, not when it's convenient, not when they approve, not when the fear goes away. Now, this moment, this breath, is the turning point. Because the truth they never told you about manifestation is this: you don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. And what you are is a living vibration, a signal being broadcast into every corner of your life. If that signal is neediness, you'll attract lack. If that signal is fear, you'll attract chaos. If that signal is doubt, you'll attract delay. But if that signal is conviction, if that signal is self-respect, if that signal is I already know who I am and what I'm made for, then what's meant for you has no choice but to arrive. Because manifestation is less about calling things in and more about clearing things out. Clearing the noise. Clearing the old story. Clearing every belief that says not yet, not worthy, not possible. And the hardest part? Clearing the comfort. That soft space of almost. That seductive safety of waiting. That subtle addiction to potential, without the pain of becoming. But comfort doesn't birth greatness. Comfort is the womb of mediocrity. And if you want to manifest a life that looks nothing like the one you were handed, you must stop clinging to the version of yourself who accepted crumbs. No more half-believing, no more halfway effort, no more living like you've got time to waste. Because time doesn't wait for hesitation, and neither does destiny. The life you want is not in the clouds. It's built in the minutes most people waste. It's formed in the discipline they ignore. It's forged in the fires they run from. And when you realize that, when you finally take full ownership, something irreversible happens. You begin to move from being a reactor to a creator. You stop responding to what is and start designing what will be. That's the shift. That's when manifestation becomes inevitable, because your entire being begins operating from a different frequency. No more hoping. You now expect, not out of arrogance, but out of alignment. You expect to win because you've paid the price in discipline. You expect to be chosen because you've already chosen yourself. You expect doors to open because you've stopped trying to fit through ones that were never built for you. And if one doesn't, you build your own. You stop waiting for the invitation. You become the one who knocks, or better yet, you become the one who constructs the entire room. That's power. That's manifestation in motion. It's not always loud. It's not always visible, but it's always deliberate. And here's what the world doesn't understand. You don't manifest to escape your reality. You manifest to reshape it, from the inside out, from identity to action, from belief to embodiment. Because the universe is always listening, but it's not listening to your words. It's listening to your energy. So when your energy says, I'm available for greatness, When your energy says, I trust the process. When your energy says, I'm no longer settling for anything less than alignment. That's when life begins to bend around your intention. Not because it's easy, but because you've finally stopped standing in your own way. So now the question is no longer, can I manifest this? The question is, am I willing to become the version of me who already has it? Because that version doesn't play small. That version doesn't explain themselves to people who refuse to grow. That version doesn't check the mirror for validation or the clock for permission. They rise without applause. They build without blueprint. They move because stillness is no longer an option. They understand that success is not an arrival, it's a vibration. And you hold it first in your spirit before it ever lands in your hands. That's the truth they don't tell you. They sell you vision boards and quick hacks as if clarity without commitment is enough. But this is sacred work. This is soul excavation. This is digging through years of stories and scars until you find the gold, until you find the truth beneath the noise. The truth that says, you were never broken, you were buried. And manifestation is not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you otherwise. That version of you still exists. The one who dreamed before doubt. The one who spoke truth before fear learned to whisper. The one who knew, deep in their bones, that they were meant for more. That version is not lost, just waiting. Waiting for you to stop numbing. Waiting for you to stop explaining. Waiting for you to stop postponing the life that's been calling you this entire time. So answer it. Answer it not with promises, but with presence. With action. With energy that says, I'm not just wishing anymore, I'm creating, I'm claiming, I'm coming for everything that's mine. Because here's what no one can take from you. Not your vision, not your fire, not your frequency, unless you let them. And from this moment on, you don't let them. Not the doubt, not the delay, not the noise dressed up as logic, not the voices that told you to be realistic, when realism was just their fear in disguise. Because now you see clearly, manifestation doesn't belong to the lucky, it belongs to the relentless. To the ones who show up when the motivation dies. To the ones who keep going long after the excitement fades. To the ones who understand that becoming the person who has it is harder than getting it. You don't rise once. You rise daily. You don't declare once. You decide repeatedly. You wake up every morning and make the same quiet, defiant decision. I will not live on default. I will live on purpose. And that purpose becomes your gravity. It pulls the right people toward you. It repels what no longer belongs. It makes you magnetic, not through effort but through embodiment. And when you embody what you once only visualized, something shifts forever. You're no longer trying to attract abundance, you're operating from it. You're no longer begging for clarity, you're moving as someone who already sees. You're no longer wishing for freedom, you're choosing it, moment by moment, habit by habit, thought by thought. That's manifestation. It's not wishful thinking, it's warrior thinking. And warriors don't wait for ideal conditions. They train in the storm. They lead in the dark. They keep the vision burning even when the winds of life try to blow it out. Because here's the part that no one glamorizes. The waiting season is part of the manifestation. It's not wasted time. It's preparation time. It's refinement. You're not being punished. You're being positioned. The dream is not being denied, it's being developed, in silence, in struggle, in sacred spaces that don't make it to social media. And when it finally arrives, when your life begins to mirror your deepest truth, people will call you lucky. Let them wonder how you did it, let them guess. Because they didn't see the days you showed up tired, they didn't see the inner battles you fought silently, they didn't see the years of invisible effort. But you did. And so did the universe. Every act of discipline, every moment of patience, every choice to keep believing when no one else did, it was all recorded. An energy like that doesn't vanish, it returns, always, multiplied, magnified, manifested. But you have to let go of control to receive it. You have to stop micromanaging your destiny like it's a business plan and start trusting it like it's a divine contract. You signed it the day you said, I want more. And more began to move toward you, but only to the degree that you became willing to move toward it. So now take inventory, not of your goals, of your standards. What are you tolerating that contradicts what you say you want? What thoughts are you entertaining that insult your vision? What relationships are you clinging to that are dragging your frequency through the mud? Let them go, because this is sacred ground now. And not everything or everyone can walk with you into your next season. Some things are meant to be loved and released. Some chapters are meant to end so a new one can breathe. And yes, that's hard. Yes, it'll break your heart in places. But broken is not the opposite of whole. Broken is the birthplace of transformation. Ask the butterfly. Ask the phoenix. Ask anyone who ever had to be torn apart before they were ready to rise. That's manifestation too. It's not clean, it's not always calm, but it is always calling you up out of your comfort, up out of your self-imposed limits, up out of the prison of someday. Because there is no someday, there is only now. This moment, this heartbeat, this decision. Do you go back to the safety of who you were, or do you step forward into the unknown of who you're becoming? That choice, that split second of courage, is everything. That's when you stop chasing the dream and start matching it. Energetically, emotionally, mentally, behaviorally. You don't just ask for it. You align with it. You don't just visualize it. You validate it through your actions. You don't just write it down in a journal and hope. You live it in every small moment until the dream no longer feels like a dream, because it's now your default reality. And when it arrives, you won't be surprised, because you'll know you earned it, not through luck, through frequency, through consistency, through a radical, almost unreasonable belief in yourself when nothing around you gave you permission to believe. That's manifestation, not fantasy, not force. Faith. Faith in your becoming. Faith in your alignment. Faith in the fire that refuses to go out, no matter how dark it gets. So breathe. Breathe in the journey that brought you here. Breathe in the lessons. Breathe in the silence, the sacrifice, the spark that kept burning. And now breathe out everything that can't come with you. The doubt, the smallness, the second-guessing. Because you're not that version anymore. You've evolved, you've awakened, you've arrived. Not at the destination, but at your power. This is manifestation. This is what they never told you. And this is just the beginning. But even now, in this silence after the storm, there's one more truth that must be spoken. Because someone out there is still hesitating. Someone out there is still standing at the edge of their own greatness. 1 foot in the fire, 1 foot in the familiar. Let me say this. You don't need more time. You don't need more proof. You don't need another sign from the universe. You are the sign. You are the evidence. You are the answer to the question. What happens when a human being finally decides to stop betraying their own potential? What happens is this. The world makes room. Opportunities you never imagined begin to unfold. People you've never met start speaking your name in rooms you've never entered. Doors you once begged to be opened now stand wide, waiting. Not because you forced them, but because you finally became someone impossible to ignore. And that is the final law they never printed in books. When you become undeniable, life becomes unrecognizable. But it doesn't start outside you. It starts the moment you say, I refuse to stay asleep while my future calls me by name. You wake up, not just physically but spiritually. You wake up to your power. You wake up to your patterns. You wake up to the difference between alignment and attachment, between noise and truth, between ambition and actual purpose. And that awakening? It costs everything that isn't you. It costs the lie, it costs the mask, it costs the version of you that made other people comfortable at the price of your soul. But oh, what it gives you in return. Clarity, conviction, the kind of self-respect that can't be bought, borrowed, or broken. And that's when manifestation becomes your second language. Not because you're chasing, because you're choosing. Not because you're obsessed with outcomes, because you're in love with the process. Not because you're desperate to prove something, because you're too aligned to pretend anymore. This is how your new life begins, with a whisper that becomes a war cry, with a thought that becomes a frequency, with a step that becomes a revolution. Because once you rise, really rise, there is no going back. You can't unknow your power. You can't unsee your vision. You can't unlive the fire you've walked through. You carry it with you, in your breath, in your spine, in your stillness. And the world feels it, without a word. This is what manifestation looks like, not a moment, a movement, not an outcome, a becoming, and now It's yours. So go, live it, be it, and never, not for 1 second, forget who you are. A creator, a warrior, a force of nature dressed in human skin, a soul that remembered and returned to rise.